I thought they were trying to encourage people to vote. With all these rules, it's a wonder anyone bothers. Yeah, at least you're already registered to vote. Having to go through that bureaucratic nightmare tonight would have just added insult to injury. An ad for a brothel. At least they seem to know their audience. A list of fools who think their opinion will actually make a difference.
Excuse me.
Yes, how may I help you?
I'll just go cast my ballot then.
Very good, Mr. Fordham.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Atwood seems quite fond of advancing steam tech, doesn't he?
That he does. He's promised to fund research of ethericity, as well as introduce more automated technology to increase production and boost Vespuccia's economy. If social progress and futurism are important to you, you'd be wise to vote for him.
Is that your official endorsement?
No, sir. Merely stating the facts.
Leroy is really pushing this whole man of the people angle, isn't he?
Indeed. He wants to minimize the use of steam tech and ensure that people all have jobs. Leroy doesn't believe that ethericity exists, and instead wants to look into more practical energy sources. He also wants to prioritize the building of the bridge between Gascon and the Chum. I recommend taking those facts into consideration when making your choice in the booth.
Where is everybody?
I'm not sure. I was told to expect large crowds, but so far we haven't had more than about 50 people in here. The polls have only been open for a couple of hours, though. I imagine things will pick up around 8 o'clock.
Or it could just be that everyone has come to their senses and isn't wasting their time.
I'll just go cast my ballot then.
Very good, Mr. Fordham.
Well, that's taken care of. Thankfully, the Angel isn't a polling place, so we can still have a nice quiet evening.
What? My head is pounding. Damn withdrawal.
Actually, I think someone's knocking at the door.
Oh, right. Good afternoon, miss. If you're looking for Miss Upton, I'm afraid she's not in right now.
No, I've already spoken with Miss Upton. I'm looking for Mr. Miles Fordham.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm Miles Fordham. What can I do for you, Miss...
Mrs. Emily Morgan. I have a problem, you see. Miss Upton said you'd be able to help.
I suppose you'd better come in. So, what seems to be the trouble?
It's my brother, Ronan Lespay. He was murdered 4 nights ago outside a tavern in the Chum.
Murdered on election night. I suppose he was spared having to see the outcome.
Is that meant to be a joke, Mr. Fordham?
An ill-considered comment. Forgive me. Could you please tell me what happened?
The police took his body to the mortuary and investigated the crime scene, but they're out of ideas. I've been down there at the station every day, but they don't seem to care enough to look into it any further. All they've been able to determine was that it wasn't a robbery, and that the clothes he was wearing weren't his. My brother was a good man, Mr. Fordham. He would never have willingly gone to that part of town. I need to know why he was murdered, and I want whoever did it to pay for it.
Very well, Mrs. Morgan. I'll take your case.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fordham.
I just need to know where your brother was killed, and where I might be able to contact you.
He was found outside the Silent Raven. It's on Alewife Avenue, on the west side of the Chum. Here, take this. It's a photo of Ronan. It might help your investigation. And if you need to speak with me, you can come to my husband's bakery. It's here in Worcester, at 15 Drummond Street.
Very good. I'll begin my investigation right away.
Thank you again, Mr. Fordham. You have no idea how much this means to me.
Well, this case has our names written all over it. Maybe it'll be good practice for finding the man who caused my death, eh? Some fool in a hat. I never understood the appeal of silhouette portraits. A lady silhouette. Pretty sure it just means the artist wasn't talented enough to draw her for real. Looks like that umbrella's gotten some good use. It was quite the rainstorm we had yesterday. Therein lies Upton's boudoir. As a matter of respect, the less said the better, I think. Should have listened to your mother. You should have practiced. Mostly cookbooks. Yeah, at least you won't have to worry about starving while you're staying here. Not a very inspiring piece. Hell, I could probably paint it better. It looks pretty similar to the one in your bedroom. I like the color of this one better, though. What a handsome couple. Judging by the uncanny resemblance, I'd say these are Upton's parents. I suppose you could do worse, as far as bar names go. Your mascot seems to be a raven with a glowing red eye. Is that meant to attract customers or to scare them off? It's an ad for whiskey. Or perhaps paint thinner. Sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference. Yesterday's rain has made the water level rise significantly. Is it just me, or does it look like there's something resting at the bottom of the drain?
If there is, I have no way of getting to it through the drain cover.
Securely fastened, unfortunately for you. If only there was some way to undo these bolts and remove the drain cover. These advertisements are all at least 10 years out of date. What a mess. To think, in an instant, a man's life can be reduced to some scribbles on the filthy pavement.
Now's not the time to get poetic, Bill.
My, this grog shop looks pretty rough, even by chum standards. Best keep a low profile while you're in here, Miles. Doesn't look like cleaning up is high on the list of priorities around here. They don't seem to have much variety in their beer selection. Looks like that's where they keep the good stuff. Of course, around here, good is an extremely relative term.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
You know a man named Ronan Lespay?
Nah, never heard of him.
He was killed here 4 nights ago. The man in this ferrotype.
Oh, that one. Well, I never saw him before that night, and I didn't talk to him. You with the police or something?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to help his sister find out what happened.
So are you done with the questions? Can I get you a drink or what?
Yeah, she's a shrewd businesswoman. You at least have to give her that.
Were you working on election night?
Pal, I'm here most every night.
So that's a yes, then?
Christ on a cracker, you ain't too bright, are ya? Yes, I was here on election night.
There's no need to be rude about it, madam. Have you worked here long?
13 years.
I see. Anything else you can tell me about yourself?
I ain't the friendly type.
Right. Understood. Any thoughts on the election?
Nah, couldn't care less, really. Doesn't matter who's in charge. My life ain't getting any better.
But it can certainly get worse with Leroy in office.
We'll see.
What can you tell me about this place?
It's a bar. People come here to drink. Sometimes people drink too much, and then they're sick all over. I get the honor of cleaning up the mess.
Sounds like you're not too pleased with your job.
I never said that. There may be rough days, but there's a lot worse I could be doing. Here, I get a place to sleep and a bit to eat and a few coins in my pocket if the customers are pleased. And you are pleased, ain't you, sir?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course I am.
Good.
Tell me what you know about the murder that took place outside on election night.
Listen, chum, do you know how busy we were that night? This was a polling place. We had gents coming in and out for hours, not to mention the regular clientele. I was up to my ass in drink orders and was running the shift all by myself. Had to break up God knows how many fights, too. So you'll excuse me if I didn't exactly notice something that happened out on the street.
Did you at least hear the gunshot?
No, I didn't. You try distinguishing a gunshot over a room full of rowdy voters. It ain't gonna happen.
You mentioned regular clientele. Who are they?
Oh, we get plenty of regulars in here. Too many to name.
Which of them were here on election night?
Let me think. I remember seeing 3 of the usual crowd. There was Darius, up to no good as always. Then there was Singin' Tom, but he wasn't around for too long. And how could I forget old Cormac? He'd have talked my ear off if I'd let him.
Sound like an interesting bunch of folks.
Where might I find the landlord?
You won't find him anywhere. He doesn't come around here more than once a month.
What can you tell me about Darius?
Hey now, bucko. You've come in here asking me all these questions, but I ain't seen nothing from you. You want more information? You're gonna have to earn it.
Right. Give me a gin, then.
Coming right up.
Don't get carried away now, Miles.
There you are. 1 gin. That'll be 2 shillings.
There's 3. Now then, about Darius.
Now that man is trouble. I've had to throw him out a few times.
Why do you say he's trouble?
His mind's affected by the poppy seed. He can be gentle as a kitten or fly into a rage at a moment's notice. When he gets rowdy, he gets chucked.
I see. Any idea where I might be able to find him?
Don't know why you'd want to find him, but I hear he spends his day at a smokehouse nearby. I believe it's on Crisparkle Lane. Just look for the door with the oriental symbols above it.
And could you describe him to me?
He's a rough-looking sort, about 55 years old, has a scar on his left cheek, grayish hair, medium build.
Excellent. Thank you. Who is Singing Tom?
Ah, Tom. Not sure what his surname is, but he's in here about twice a week. We call him Singing Tom because he leads the church choir.
Is that right? Which church?
Oh, I haven't a clue. Never really cared to ask.
Does he associate with any of the other regulars?
I've seen him talking with Darius a few times. They seem to be on friendly terms.
Tell me about Cormac.
He's in here most every night. Doesn't speak to many people, just me. And a right chatterbox he is, too. Between you and me, Cormac stinks. I can understand why he doesn't keep much company.
He stinks?
Aye, he's a sewer worker. Spends all his day underground in the muck, so he always reeks of shit.
I see. Any idea where specifically he works?
I believe he's at the treatment station, over near the ferry terminal.
If this is going where I think it is, then I'm especially glad I can't smell anything anymore.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
So this is what it's come to, eh? Braving the stench of human waste in hopes of finding a lead? Just make sure you stay away from the edge. While you could use a bath, I don't think this is the right place to take a dip. Another mysterious machine. Who knew dealing with human waste involved so much technology? I hope those aren't full of what I think. Handy to know where you are, but why would anyone actually travel around the city this way? Some sort of water treatment device would be my guess. For all I know, it could just be a fancy boiler for tea.
Begging your pardon, sir.
What? Who are you? What are you doing down here?
My name's Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a sewer worker by the name of Cormac.
You needn't look no further. But what is this about?
I just have a few questions for you.
All right. Cormac will answer them, but don't dally for too long. It can be dangerous down here for anyone who's not trained as Cormac is.
You know a man named Ronan Lespay?
Cormac knows few men. People don't much like talking to a man who spends his days in the sewers. Can't really blame him for it. It's hard to get a stink off, so why bother even trying?
You didn't answer my question, though. Do you know Ronan Lespay or not?
Could you describe him? Cormac's got a better memory for faces than for names.
I have his portrait. Here, have a look.
Ah, yes. Cormac saw this fellow recently.
On election night?
That's right. He come into the bar, voted, went out. Looked drunk to Cormac, but then everyone at that place usually is.
Do Do you frequent a pub called the Silent Raven?
Yes. The Raven is where Cormac goes to forget about the day's work. The barmaid, Nicole, she's a good sort. We likes talking about the ponies down at the track. Nicky loves her some racing. She gives Cormac drinks for cheap in exchange for odd jobs. Nice to have your own personal sewer man, I suppose. She's really the only one Cormac talks to. There's a few others Cormac sees often, but Cormac hasn't spoken with them.
Cripes. This guy goes on and on, doesn't he? To be fair, you were warned.
Do you know anything about the murder that took place outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Murder? Ah, yes. The commotion out in the alleyway.
That's right. Did you see or hear anything?
It was a touch noisy that night, what with all the election stuff happening, but Cormac remembers the sound of the gun. One shot, and then shouting and hollering from the bar. A few people run outside to look at what happened, but Cormac just stayed in his seat and finished his whiskey.
So you didn't see the man who was shot, or who shot him?
No, keeps to himself, Cormac does. Makes life easier that way.
Could he be any more unhelpful? Actually, it's probably best not to find out.
Is it difficult being a sewer worker?
Difficult? Nah, it's a dream. Especially since they introduced all these steam tech treatments and purification whatsits. The only thing Cormac's got to do is check the little dial never goes into the red on old Belinda.
Belinda?
Aye, the purifier. She's a real special lady who's made Cormac's life so much brighter. Cormac makes sure to thank her each and every day.
Wonderful. We're talking to a lunatic.
Wasn't so easy a few years ago. Back then it was tapping on pipes all day.
Tapping on pipes?
To make sure they was flowing fine and not blocked. Cormac would take his little hammer and tap, tap, tap on the pipes to make sure they was ringing fine. You can imagine what that was like. Tap, tap, tap. Ring, ring, ring. All day, up and down, over and over. The tapping stopped, but the ringing never left. Still hears it to this day, Cormac does.
Do you have any opinions regarding the election?
Cormac hears lots of things about Atwood, but he's the one what's got this new machinery put into the sewer system. There's still a job for Cormac, so all that talk about being replaced by machines is just talk, for now. But Leroy says he wants to give the workers their fair chance, so Cormac can't argue with that. What about you?
I would have preferred Atwood stay in office myself.
Bah! They's all the same in the end. One way or another. No point worrying, says old Cormac.
I'll let you return to your work.
Be mindful on your way out.
All right, Mr. Chavez. The cake and muffins come to a total of 6 crowns, 10 shillings.
There you are, Mrs. Morgan. And thank you again. Barbara is going to love this.
My pleasure. Enjoy.
Pardon me, sir.
I'm sure Barbara will enjoy them, the cow. Mr. Fordham, welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan.
Those look nice, but given the choice, I'll always side with pie over cake. The bunch of assorted baking products. Don't waste your time with those, Miles. We got a murder to solve. The stuff in that day-old box doesn't look half bad. More like 3/4 bad. Well, I never had much of a sweet tooth, but even I'd consider buying some of this stuff. You know, if I were still alive. Minor detail, I know. A very wise man once told me, never go poking around the back rooms of bakeries. I think you'd do well to heed that advice.
Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
What can you tell me about your brother?
Ronan was the best brother anyone could have asked for. He took care of me after our parents died. Carriage accident. I was only 9 and he was 13. Ronan went out and found work and managed to support the both of us. He was just a child himself, but he kept us out of the gutter. Or worse, the workhouse.
How did you hear of his death?
Ronan comes by to visit me every day after he finishes work. When he didn't come for 2 days in a row, I got worried. I went to his apartment, but he wasn't there. So I made a report to the police. Yesterday, they contacted me and asked me to come to the mortuary.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss, Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. Please, find whoever did this to him. Ronan deserved so much better.
What do you know about your brother's murder?
Only what the police told me. He was shot at close range outside that pub in the Chum. Nothing was missing, and his wallet had money in it, so they said it wasn't a robbery. I didn't recognize the clothes he was wearing. I had never seen them before, and they were far too big for him. I still can't believe he's gone. He was the only family I had left.
Dr. Edwards at the mortuary might be able to give us some more detailed information. The only thing we'll get out of this one is more tears.
What sort of life did Ronan lead?
You know, just normal. He'd go to work, come visit me afterwards, and go home. He didn't have much of a social life. At least he never mentioned any friends to me. I always hoped Ronan would meet a nice girl to settle down with, but he was so shy, you know.
Where did Ronan work?
At the Grips Home Taxidermy Shop in Gascon. I always thought it was rather macabre work, but he enjoyed it. Bit lonely, though.
Can you give me the address of Ronan's apartment?
It's at 1172 Bushmill Street. I have a spare key.
That would be most helpful. Thank you. So, this is your bakery.
My husband Gerald and I have had it for almost 10 years.
Is it just the two of you? Do you have any children?
Alas, no. Some extra hands would be most welcome in the kitchen, but we haven't yet been blessed. It's such a shame that Ronan never got to be an uncle.
What are your thoughts on the outcome of the election?
Oh, I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. It hardly seems to matter now.
Yes, of course. My apologies for bringing it up. Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
I was beginning to wonder when you'd show up.
Well, wonder no longer. I'm here and I need to see Dr. Edwards.
Oh, I see how it is. He helps you solve a case, and now you don't have time for us lowly front desk clerks.
That's just the way it goes, Upton. Maybe next time you should pick a nicer coffee house.
Right. You know the way. Snelling isn't in today, so you're all clear.
Well, that's a relief. Thanks, Upton. Can we talk for a moment, Upton?
Certainly. What's on your mind?
You wouldn't happen to know anything about Ronan Lespay, would you?
Probably nothing more than you already know. His body is in the mortuary, and the reason for his murder is unknown. I suggest you speak with Dr. Edwards.
How are things with you?
Better than last week, but plenty of feathers still ruffled around here.
What happened?
You have to ask. Snelling was not happy with you turning up at the Latham crime scene. He was a right inquisition around here. Snelling going around to interrogate everyone, trying to ferret out a leak.
So he suspects.
I'm afraid so. I managed to calm him down some and divert suspicion. He thinks someone on the force is speaking to the Gazette, not to you directly.
Well, that's some kind of relief. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, don't worry about me. Well, maybe worry about me a little.
That was one hell of an election, wasn't it?
That it was. I don't know how he managed it, but I'm glad Leroy won.
I can't say I agree, but I'm not really surprised. Leroy may have started as something of a dark horse, but his campaign had been gaining a lot of steam leading up to the election. Pun not intended.
Yes, well, it's the Steam Tech issue that clinched it. When something like the Ligeia happens, people start to wake up and wonder if we really want contraptions like that in our lives.
You have to admit, he was playing up on people's fears. Not exactly the most honorable way of getting into office.
Fordham, since when have politics ever been honorable?
I'm guessing you can't go over this case with me either.
I have to distance myself completely from this one. So when you figure it out, you'll need to speak directly to Mrs. Morgan. I can still try and help you if there's something specific giving you trouble, though.
I'll let you get back to work.
And you'd better do the same.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Edwards.
Ah, Fordham. Always a pleasure.
Have you got time for some questions?
Of course.
So what can you tell me about Ronan Lespay?
Caucasian male, approximately 27 years old, died of blood loss as a result of being shot at close range. He was brought in 4 nights ago. I performed the postmortem the following day. After that, his next of kin was contacted. I believe his sister came to identify the body.
Any personal opinions on what might have happened?
Well, the fact he was shot at such a close range would suggest it was done by someone he knew. And robbery doesn't appear to be a motive, since his wallet was found on the body with money in it. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine.
Better, I hope.
Did the postmortem reveal anything?
Quite a few things, actually. Mr. Lespay was extremely inebriated when the shooting took place. There was enough alcohol in his blood to presume he had been drinking for hours before his death. I also managed to remove the bullet from his heart. It's a .36 caliber lead ball, standard revolver shot. It shouldn't be too hard to match to a weapon, provided you can find it.
Did you notice anything unusual about the clothes Mr. Lespay was wearing?
Unusual? Not really. They seemed a bit big for him, but that's all.
His sister seemed convinced that they didn't belong to him.
That's a distinct possibility, but I couldn't say for sure. He could have just been a sloppy dresser.
So no murder weapons been found?
That's right. Either the killer still has it, or the police just overlooked it. If you happen across any weapons in your investigation, be sure to bring them to me. I can tell you if it matches the bullet.
Thank you, Edwards. I'll be on the lookout. How's the coroner business?
Things have been pretty dead around here lately.
Don't quit your day job, Edwards. What are your thoughts on the election?
There was an election?
I think our friend Edwards needs to get out a bit more.
I'll be going now, Edwards.
Take care, Fordham. And remember, not everyone gets to leave the morgue alive, so consider yourself lucky that you can.
Quite the collection of exotic items in here. Ronan appears to be a seasoned world traveler.
Or at least knows someone who is.
Just looking at this painting is making me feel seasick. This mask looks African. You should try it on. It'd be an improvement. Some kind of owl mask. The hair looks incredibly familiar. This one is scarier than the other masks. Wait a moment. I think I saw something shiny in the back of the mouth.
How about that? A perfect hiding place for a key.
Now to find out what Mr. Lespay finds so precious. Ooh, this teacup could use a washing. I'd be surprised if it isn't permanently stuck to the desk. A model of the SS Joondalup. Looks like a merchant vessel to me. They appear to be a pair of letters from Ronan's landlord. This one appears to be from Emily. Aha! A letter from someone called Jimbo? It's empty. Too bad. Looks like you found Ronan's journal. Perhaps this will be able to give us some more insight into what he was up to before he died.
There are two entries, one from this year and one from last.
So, start with last year's.
July 8th, 1843. I've decided I need to get out more, so I'm going to a club in Gascon tonight. Stuffing animals has taken its toll, and I need to talk to someone who isn't Emily or my coworkers. Gerald told me about a place called the Crimson Cat. I'll try it, and if I don't enjoy myself, I'll just come home. Now for this year's entry. July 8th, 1844. Today is our 1-year anniversary. We're going to meet at the Cat again. I love him, but I wish he wasn't so attached to that place. Emily is so nosy, I worry that she might follow me and discover the truth about Jimbo. If we moved around, I wouldn't worry, but with him, it's always the Crimson Cat. I really shouldn't complain, though. What we have is something truly special.
Well, it seems that our best hope of finding this Jimbo character is to visit the Crimson Cat.
Let's see. June 17th, 1843. Someone brought in a rare big-eared hopping mouse from Australia yesterday. Stuffing it was quite a challenge, as the organs were difficult to remove without damaging the body. I think I'd rather not read about Ronan's taxidermy process any further. March 11th, 1844. I must have eaten something last night which didn't agree with me because I've had a terrible case of the runs.
Probably best to skip this one.
Agreed.
Ronan wasn't too concerned with comfort, apparently. This is hardly bigger than a bunk at sea. I guess Ronan won't be realizing his world travel dreams now. Death really has a way of messing up your plans. I had an illustration that looked similar to that one. I wonder where it ended up. Ronan's book collection mostly consists of cheap pulp adventure novels, but this top shelf looks interesting. It's in another language, but it appears to be a Bible. It's in another language. No title, and it appears to be blank. I wonder if Ronan just kept empty books on his shelf to appear well-read. No title, and it appears to be blank.
Hello, and welcome to the Gripsholm Taxidermy Shop. Please let me know if I can be of service.
I was wondering if you might answer some questions for me.
Of course. What can I help you with?
I was told Ronan Lespay works here. Do you know him?
Ronan? Yes, of course. That is to say, I know he works here. I haven't had much interaction with him. He mostly keeps to himself.
Does he have an office or workspace I might have a look at?
Now, wait just a minute. Why would I let some random stranger off the street in to look at an employee's workspace?
Because I'm a private investigator and I'm trying to get some information.
Well, even if that is the case, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Ronan does have a workspace, but it's completely bare. He doesn't keep anything here.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered 4 nights ago?
I had no idea. That's awful. What happened?
That's what I'm currently trying to find out. Do you know if Ronan had any enemies? Anyone who might want to do him harm?
No, as I said, I didn't speak with him much, or know much about him. But now that I think about it, I did notice a strange man waiting around outside the shop a few days ago.
Tell me about this strange man you saw.
At the time, I didn't think much of him, but the more I recall, the more I realize he was being very suspicious.
What did he do?
He just stood outside across the street, but he seemed to be focusing on the building. It was as though he was waiting for someone.
Do you remember what this man looked like?
I didn't get a very good look at him, but I do remember some things. He was tall and had a heavy build, like a boxer or a dock worker. He had a beard, I think, or mutton chops at the very least. And as far as I can recall, he was wearing all black. He also had on some kind of cap. I'm sorry I can't give you a better description, but that's all I was able to distinguish. My eyesight isn't very good, I'm afraid.
It'll have to do. Thank you for your help. Anything you can tell me about the shop?
Plenty! This is New Britannia's most sophisticated taxidermy shop. Unlike other taxidermists, we work with modern technology to get results they could only dream of.
What does that mean exactly?
Using steam tech, we are able to create the illusion of life in these beasts. Just take a look at our floor samples. The parrot and gorilla are 2 of our finest works. They really speak for themselves. Well, the parrot does at least. I think it would frighten our customers if the gorilla did too. And once ethericity is harnessed as a viable source of energy, we'll get even better results.
This guy is way too excited about bringing dead things back to life.
Yes, fascinating. Moving on. So how did you get this job?
Oh, it isn't a terribly exciting story, I'm afraid. I just saw an ad in the Gazette for a clerk position. I never expected to learn so much about taxidermy.
I'm sure he's amazing conversation at parties.
Any thoughts on the recent election?
I'd really rather not talk about it. I don't know how the people of this country could put someone like Hart Leroy in charge.
I know what you mean. Leroy may be a champion of the common man, but Atwood's vision for the future is more important right now.
I couldn't agree more. Leroy wants to forsake all the technological advances of the last decade and take us back to the Dark Ages. Next thing you know, he'll be bringing slavery back.
I doubt he'd go to such extremes.
Perhaps we should drop the subject. I get a bit passionate when it comes to these sorts of things.
Thank you for your help.
I'm here to serve.
Exotic dead fauna from every other continent. You never even need to leave Vespuccia. That leads into a room with even more dead things. It's such a shame we haven't the time to stick around and explore. Reminds me of the one in the Dupre house, except that one actually looked alive. There's a small button on the base.
Welcome to the Gripzone Taxidermy Shop. Please enjoy our displays and be sure to consider us for all your taxidermy needs. Just a reminder, we stuff animals only. Wah!
I wonder how many people it took to bring down this brute. There's a small button on the base. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. What will they think of next? Is that supposed to be a lion? I wonder how many layers of advertisements you'd have to cut through before getting to the wall. Crisparkle Lane. Nothing crisp or sparkly about it. I can't make heads or tails of it, but I'll bet you 10 crowns it doesn't say welcome.
Yes? What do you want?
I was told this was the place to come if I wanted to ride the dragon.
Oh. Well, why didn't you say so? Please, come in.
Poor horse. That fellow in the armor must have weighed a ton. They're really dedicated to their theme in here, aren't they? She's not going to be much help right now. Best not to bother her. Fancy. At least they provide their clients with some measure of privacy. Now I see why they call it riding the dragon.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a man by the name of Darius.
Well, look no further. Welcome, friend. Sit, join me.
I'll stand, if that's all right. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions are the path to enlightenment. Answers fly by as birds on the breeze. But will a caged bird sing? That is the true question.
Wonderful. He's as high as a kite. This is gonna be worse than pulling teeth.
Are you familiar with a man named Ronan Lespay?
I know many men. Some old, some young, some rich, some poor. Some I know by name, some by face. But this man you speak of, this Ronan, he is unfamiliar to me.
I have a ferrotype. Do you recognize him?
Forgive me, but my eyes are blurry. I cannot make out his features.
Well, he's useless, isn't he? Too bad there's no way to snap him out of it, like there was with Dupre's kid.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Murder? Was it a murder?
It was. A man was shot in cold blood.
That would explain the commotion, as well as the sound.
So you heard the gunshot?
I did. I thought it might have been one of the voting machines making the noise, but then there were shouts, and people began to run.
Did you see or hear anything before you heard the gunshot?
I seem to remember hearing a man shouting a name.
A name?
Yes. It sounded like Priscilla.
Well, how about that? He's managed to be of some use after all. Assuming he's telling the truth, of course.
And does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Afraid not, young man.
What can you tell me about the Silent Raven?
Ah, the Raven. My home away from home.
I would have thought that was this place. Unless this one is just the home.
Do you have many friends there? People you speak with often?
Yes, friends. I call them friends anyway, but really, what is a friend? Someone who drinks with you? Someone who shares secrets with you? Are those friends? My father used to tell me that the only two friends you had were your mother and the crown in your pocket. Well, both of those are gone now, so what does that mean for me?
I don't know, sir. I'm just asking about people you speak to at the Raven.
The barmaid, Nicole, she gets mad at me sometimes when I break things. But she's all right.
Have you ever conversed with a patron called Singing Tom?
Singing Tom? You mean old Tom Puffin?
I'm not sure. I was just told he was called Singing Tom and was a regular at the Silent Raven.
That's the man. I see him in here all the time.
In here, not just at the Raven?
Tom is a child of the poppy, just as I am. He truly understands the world as it is.
Do you know where I might be able to find him?
Yes, he's the choir master at St. Denis Cathedral. That's where he spends his time when he's not here.
You mean to tell me we have to talk to another one of these loonies? Wonderful.
Do you often come to this establishment, Darius?
Oh, yes. This place is better than any doctor or hospital. It has exactly the cure I need.
Cure? For what?
I'm ill, sir. Just as you are. Just as we all are. infected by a terrible disease known as life.
Speak for yourself.
But spend a few hours in here with the intoxicating nectar of the poppy, and you'll find nothing can defeat you.
I was wondering if you could tell me whether you saw a certain man at the Raven on election night. He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Lots of people like that go to the Raven. I see loads of them every night. But now that you mention it, I do remember someone like that. He was a strange one.
How so?
I remember one of the times he came in, he was adjusting his hat. I could have sworn when he took it off for just a moment, his hair was bright red.
How is that strange, exactly?
Because his beard was jet black. It was the oddest thing I'd seen. Well, it was the oddest thing I'd seen, until his beard slid halfway down his face.
I see. Well, thank you for the information.
Wonderful. This testimony is about as useful as a hole in the head. Then again, there might be something to it.
So did you manage to get out of here and vote?
Please don't bother me with such trivial matters. Why should I care who leads the government? As long as they don't outlaw places like this, they can do whatever they please.
Is this guy ignorant or just apathetic? Yeah, well, I don't know, and I don't care.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, young man. May you find peace and happiness.
Prayer candles? People think lighting one of these is going to solve their problems. If only it were that easy. Also, what happens if they go out? Does that mean your prayer gets canceled? Shh. What? It's an important question. The more I think about it, the more I want to test my theory about prayers being canceled if the candles go out. Well, that's all of them. Hope you made a wish. This angel looks like it would throw its lamp at you as soon as you turned your back on it. Now this is one intriguing chest. If only we could search it without arousing any suspicions. This looks like the nicer of the two angels. What a racket! I'm glad you're not a member of this church. Sitting through Sunday Mass would drive me insane.
I beg your pardon. Are you Tom Puffin?
I am. How may I help you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Questions? Have I done something wrong?
No, Mr. Puffin. I simply believe you may have some information that I need.
Very well, then.
What were you doing on election night, Mr. Puffin?
Election night? That was ages ago, wasn't it?
It was 4 nights ago, to be precise.
Oh, you have to understand. I have trouble recalling what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone what happened 4 nights ago.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Do try to remember, Mr. Puffin. It's quite important.
Well, I know I voted at my local polling place, the Silent Raven. And then, I'm not sure, actually.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven?
Murder?
Yes, a man was shot. Did you see or hear anything?
I don't remember. I don't think so, no.
How long were you at the Raven that evening?
Not very long, I don't think. I went, voted, stayed for a drink, and then I left.
You recall what you did the rest of the evening?
Not specifically. I probably went home and went to bed, like I always do.
Do you recognize the man in this photo?
Is that... No, never mind.
What is it?
Well, for a moment, I thought it was someone else, but I was clearly mistaken.
So you don't recognize this person, then?
Afraid not. Who is he?
His name is, or rather was, Ronan Lespay.
What? Is he dead?
He is. I'm trying to find out who killed him.
Well, I hope you find your man, Mr. Fordham.
Are you in the habit of using opium, Mr. Puffin?
What? Why would you think that?
I met your friend Darius. He told me you share a pastime.
All right, yes, I do enjoy a visit to the opium den from time to time.
From time to time? More like morning, noon, and night.
Have you found the drug has had any adverse effects? Memory loss, for example.
I admit I'm not quite as quick as I used to be. But without it, I'm in constant pain.
Is that right?
I fell off a horse when I was 15, and ever since then, my back's not been right. The doctors haven't been able to help. Poppy is my only comfort. I wish there were another way.
It might be worth seeking a more professional opinion about the effects of opium.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Priscilla? What does that have to do with anything?
The name has come up in my investigation. Is it someone you're acquainted with?
No, it isn't. I don't know anyone by that name.
He certainly seemed concerned about her, though.
How did you become choir master of this church?
Oh, well, I studied music at the University of New Britannia. Once I completed my studies, I began writing symphonies in hopes of securing a patron, but I had no luck. So, I decided to focus on choral compositions. I sent a few pieces to the bishop, and he offered me the position.
And you enjoy it?
Oh, yes, sir, immensely. I'm able to continue composing songs for our choir, as well as teach music to our young members. I take my church duties very seriously.
What else do you do besides lead the choir?
Just a few things here and there, making sure the aisles and the pews are clean, tending to the prayer candles, that sort of thing.
It seems that all the prayer candles have gone out.
Have they? Blast, I keep saying there's a draft, but nobody's done anything about it. Excuse me for a moment, won't you?
Let's hope this chest hasn't got squeaky hinges.
Could I have another moment of your time, Mr. Puffin?
Yes, I suppose so.
Do you know anyone named Ned?
Ned? Well, yes, I do. My nephew, Ned Bunkridge.
Your nephew?
Yes, why do you ask?
Where might I find Ned? I'd like to speak with him.
Is everything all right? Ned hasn't gotten into any trouble, has he? I always tell him just because he's training his body, that's no excuse to pick fights.
No, he hasn't gotten into any trouble.
Oh, well, he lives in Lyon, at 511 Parkside Terrace.
Right. Thank you for the information. So, what do you think of the election results?
All right, the election. Who won?
Leroy. He beat Atwood by a significant margin.
Oh, I suppose that's good. I think I may have voted for him, but I'm not sure.
I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.